The Los Angeles Rams prove the haters wrong and melt Caleb Williams to advance to the conference finals. That and more from an insane weekend of NFL football in today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert, The Legacy, Louis DiBiase. On today's show, we are going to break down an insane divisional round weekend of football, the best weekend of football, and did it live up to the hype? The Patriots and the Hawks absolutely take care of business. Josh Allen chokes when it was now or never, but we got to start with maybe the best game of the year as the Rams barely survive Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Before we dive into, I want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Louis, that was an insane game in Chicago, into overtime, down to the wire, but kind of what I expected. The Los Angeles Rams, in the big moments, made the clutch plays when it mattered most, even though Caleb Williams did all he could at certain points to keep the Bears in it, but ultimately, Caleb Williams giveth and Caleb Williams taketh as well, and his mistakes also led to the Rams being able to pull off this overtime win.
Cardiac Caleb, you live by it, you die by it. This was some unbelievable clutch quarterback play, not just by Caleb Williams, but by Matt Stafford. That throw to Devontae Adams to move the chains right in front of the corner's hands. Adams with a beautiful toe drag to stay in bounce and make that catch. The Rams are a dangerous football team going into the NFC title. And yeah, Caleb Williams, though, I know that pick at the end was a little bit, I think, over-aggressive. But what he did with Chicago this year, I couldn't believe the resilience of such a young football team in the fourth quarter every single week. And this week was really no different. They should be proud of that. And I know at this point they probably don't care about moral victories, but what a successful season for the Bears.
No, you're 100% right, and that is exactly the sentiment that my guy Lauren Cox had, inside expert for the Bears from Locked On Bears, with the magic running out, but the season being a success.
The Chicago Bears ran out of miracles in their playoff loss to the Los Angeles Rams, but what a game. The game of the playoffs so far, an exciting match that showed the Chicago Bears belong. The Chicago Bears were a real contender, despite all of the comeback wins, all of the miracle moments. They took a tough Los Angeles Rams team down to the final minutes, put a huge scare into Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay when no one thought the Bears belonged here. No one thought the Bears would get this far. No one thought Caleb Williams could make another incredible fourth down touchdown throw late in a contest. But the Bears defense finally showed up and played the game of their lives. The offense just couldn't quite hold up its end of the bargain, not putting up enough points consistently in this game, not able to finish those drives with enough touchdowns. But boy, hanging on and fighting to the end. What a fun game. What a fun season. A lot to break down over on the Locked On Bears podcast. Find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Look, I know the natural reaction coming out of games like this is to overreact, and maybe it's not even an overreaction. We'll talk about some of this stuff, but we got to make sweeping changes. They have to do this, they have to do that to change the outcome and get better next year. If you're the Bears, it's just keep building. Like they're on a steady trajectory right now. Caleb Williams obviously can make the big mistake, but he can do things, Louis, like we were talking about before we jumped in. He can just do things that not very many people in the NFL can do. So, I mean, the Rams may have won the game, but I think the season overall is a big win for the Chicago Bears. But boy, you look at the Rams, and we'll talk about Seattle and their dominant performance at the end of the show, but the Rams, after going through a tight game with the Carolina Panthers. A tight game in overtime here against the Bears. The Rams are battle tested. They have walked through the fire the last couple of weeks. And over on Locked On Rams, they talked about just a crazy season that keeps on going.
So I guess we finally found our kicker, boys and girls. Woo! What did we just see? We saw Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, hit a 42-yard field goal to beat the Chicago Bears in overtime and send the Los Angeles Rams to the NFC Championship game. In a year where special teams has been the Rams' biggest weakness, it was a rookie kicker that hits the kick of the night, the moment of the night. And how about that Rams defense? 3 stops on 4th down, 2 inside the red zone, and bouncing back after Caleb Williams went full Superman late to tie it at 17. Cam Curl has the interception and makes the play of the night on defense. The Rams defense, they were battling all night, and they had Matthew Stafford's back. It was not a good night for the MVP. He completed just over 47% of his passes. It's the lowest rate of the season, was sacked 4 times. But the Rams proved, 1, they can win in cold weather, and 2, it's by any means necessary. Survive in advance. The Rams are headed to the NFC Championship game. Whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.
Listen, they don't have to play in cold weather anymore, all right? They're done with that. They're going to go to Seattle. If they win, they're going to the Super Bowl. So the Rams passed like the biggest test where, like I said, all the haters thought that Matthew Stafford couldn't get it done. I was nervous as well, and he didn't play a good game because he's just not that good in cold weather. But now that they've knocked that off, they may not be the betting favorites on FanDuel Sportsbook, but the Rams remain my favorite to win the Super Bowl, even off a dominant performance from the Seahawks.
I completely agree, and in such an unpredictable NFL year, and you look at the Final Four, it's Drake May, Jarrett Stidham in the AFC, it's a Sam Darnold who's banged up with the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense is unbelievable, but I just trust Matt Stafford, and I trust the Rams. This is a win that they almost pulled off last year in the divisional round against the Philadelphia Eagles, so yeah, I just trust their battle-tested experience. I mean, McVay and Stafford have been going through this together since 2021, so that's going to be an absolute dogfight of an NFC title, and I think when push came to shove, even in such a chaotic year, at least in the NFC, we did get the 2 best teams duking it out to get to Super Bowl 60. But I don't know. I feel like I do trust the Rams right now as well, because even in a game like this where Matt Stafford gets sacked so much, he completes under 50% of his balls, he still makes that throw to Devontae Adams at the end. He still does find a way. This is kind of an underrated legacy run for Matt Stafford, what he's doing right now.
Oh, if he gets another Super Bowl on top of probably winning the MVP, like that, we're talking about top 7, top 5. You know, there are conversations.
Hall of Fame lock. I mean, that changes the entire narrative.
Oh, 100%. It would be just, it's a next level. When you're that level of quarterback, you get an MVP on the board, you get 2 championships. That takes you to the next level. Because I always say in any sport, Louis, in any sport, all the greats are great players. What separates the greats is winning and being great. And Matthew Stafford puts himself in a new category. And at the end of the day, football, a lot of the time, comes down to coach and quarterback. And there is not a single coach and quarterback combo in the playoffs right now that I trust more than Stafford and McVay.
I think that's kind of, before this show, I was thinking about what's the lesson that we can learn from who made it to the Final Four in the NFL. And I really do think that coach-quarterback relationship. I know Bo Nix is not going to play, but Bo Nix and Sean Payton, Drake May, and Mike Vrabel. Of course, Sam Darnold now going in with a good situation, again, like last year, having success. Stafford and McVay, that quarterback head coach thing. I mean, that is why Mahomes and Reed and the Chiefs had such sustained success. And Brady and Belichick, when push comes to shove, that's always the most important thing for a consistent contender.
And with that in mind, that's why there are a lot of questions in Buffalo this weekend. Is the combination of Josh Allen and Sean McDermott good enough? And all I'll tell you this is, Buffalo may have gotten some bad calls in that game, but what can also be true is Josh Allen choked. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by the ultimate QB football legend. Have you ever wished that you could become a pro quarterback and get drafted first overall, maybe by the Las Vegas Raiders? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback and you got to lead your team to greatness. It's the number one QB career mode game on mobile app stores. You sign contracts, you train, you upgrade yourself, you build chemistry, you evolve your teammates, you give input to your GM on roster moves, and you actually get to play games in 2D. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a QB career. Ultimate QB is totally free to play. It has no ads, and it works 100% offline. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or just search Ultimate QB in your app store. And I've got something special for you guys. If you use the promo code LOCKEDON in all caps, you're going to get a free boost to start your career in the game store. Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1. It's your legacy. Today's episode also brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, folks, and there's no better way to stay locked into the moment than with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. The football season is coming down to the final stretch. Now is the perfect time to close it out strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player stats. No drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. Here's what you do. You pick a lineup of 2 or more players, and all you got to do is pick more or less on their stats. They have a great feature like the early payout feature where if your player gets hot, you can cash out early. I love being able to mix stars from different teams and build lineups to fit how I want to watch the game. And you can download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Louie, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL, breaking down an insane divisional round weekend. Do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. But again, my point here is Josh Allen choked in that game. Yes, the Buffalo Bills got a raw deal at the end, and I don't agree with a lot of those calls. Both the DPI penalties I did not agree with. Let them play. I thought they were both tacky. I thought the Brandon Cooks catch could have been, ruled a catch. I don't think it was as clear as the broadcast and as the NFL wants you to think it is. But regardless of all of that being true, you can also say on the other side of the coin that the Buffalo Bills shot themselves in the foot. And that's something that my guy Joe Marino from Locked On Bills talked about immediately after the game.
Well, that's it. The Buffalo Bills season comes to an end with a 33-30 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos. And there's going to be a lot of conversations about officiating on the last drive. And certainly those conversations are worth having. But ultimately, the Bills made too many mistakes. They turned the ball over 5 times. They're -4 in turnover differential. That's the difference in the game. And not only were there crippling giveaways by the Bills offense, also missed throws and opportunities to make plays down the field that weren't made. Josh Allen missing some throws, catches that need to be made. And the Bills season comes to an end. And once again, the Bills have a lot of success, but it ends in a playoff loss. This time it's different because it's not against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so there's an offseason ahead with a lot of questions for this Bills team about how they regroup and rally and go on another run.
I mean, I'm looking at that game, and I have been saying for over a month now, it is now or never for Josh Allen. And you see the reaction of the Buffalo Bills locker room after the game. They are literally in tears. Guys are throwing stuff, angry, because they know what and think about where they're at right now. They would have been able to play the Patriots again. I would have had Buffalo to win that game. And like Joe talked about, dude, this is not just, the things that didn't go Buffalo's way. 3 fumbles from Josh Allen, 2 that he lost, 2 interceptions, the miss to Dalton Kincaid that would have won them the game near the end. He just sailed the throw over the top. If Josh Allen just plays a good version of his game, he wins. And the big glaring need on Buffalo's offense, talent at outside wide receiver, was so on display. Brandon Cooks should have made that catch where his elbow was almost in at the end down the sideline. He should have made that catch. That's an easy toe tap for a lot of good outside receivers in the NFL. Their glaring lack of talent on the outside, and Josh Allen, I give a lot of hate to Lamar Jackson for his early game, turnovers, and then people want to say, oh, well, Mark Andrews dropped the ball, and Zay Flowers dropped the ball, and this and that, and I always go, well, they were in that position because Lamar screwed them early on. There's no way that I'm going to come on here and not give that same exact criticism to Josh Allen. He may have made plays late to keep them in it, and that's fair, but he blew it enough. That fumble before halftime was disgraceful, and I'm sorry, he has to take criticism for that, and I don't know where they go because a lot of the best head coaches are off the market. Maybe you just promote Joe Brady, or I don't know if that is where you want to go. They might just be stuck with McDermott for another year, but even though I think the Bills got screwed in this game with some of the calls, they screwed themselves enough to where they can't blame the refs all the way.
I'm not going to completely exonerate Josh Allen. I don't think things are black and white. He completely choked this thing away. But I do think when you look at it in a vacuum, yes, he made a bunch of plays in this game that cost them. The turnovers were really bad. But the Bills' margin for error is so small. Josh Allen can't afford any mistakes because Brandon Beane is the one that choked. Josh Allen did make plays at the end, though, to win this football game. He put the ball on the money to Brandon Cooks down the field, and I think he completed the catch, but maybe just hang on to it and don't let the corner rip the ball out of your hands. Maybe along the sidelines, you make that play. Josh Allen scored 30 points against a top 3 defense on the road with no talent. So I am not disputing what you're saying at all, but Brandon Beane went on the airwaves in Buffalo in the offseason and had the audacity to yell at both hosts that they dare question why he hasn't done enough at receiver, and he said that talking about receiver and complaining about it was ridiculous and completely overblown. Well, guess why your season ended 3 years in a row? Josh Allen put the ball on the money last year in Kansas City to Dalton Kincaid on the game-winning supposed-to-be drive. Couldn't complete the catch. The year before, Josh Allen hit Stephon Diggs deep down the field against Kansas City. Can't complete the catch. Brandon Cooks this year. Can't complete the catch. I think Brandon Beane is the one that choked more, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Allen choked in this game kind of in a vacuum, but that team had no business being in the second round. Without Josh Allen, that's one of the worst rosters in football, and that's on the general manager who probably should be fired even if he won't be.
No, you're 100% right about that, and that's the great thing about football is it's a complex sport. You can't just – it's too reductive to just say,
because
hey, it's this guy's fault, it's that guy's fault.
He did play extremely reckless. That fumble was a 3-point difference that was the reason you went to overtime.
The game.
So that's why I don't want to come out here and just like – I like to add context with things, and I would be a hypocrite if I just completely let Josh Allen off the hook compared to my critiques of other quarterbacks. But I just think this is more of a failure in the front office than anything.
I think that's a fair point. Just because Josh Allen had bad plays doesn't mean that his general manager didn't screw him over too. And again, you're throwing to Brandon Cooks.
Man. There's no other alpha to take over when Josh does have a game like that. Who else is going to step up? There's nobody.
And Keon Coleman, that's the spotlight. That's what Keon Coleman was supposed to be for you.
By the way, another play.
Yep. And he has just been an outright bust. And there's no way to be a healthy scratch multiple times this year when they are desperate and they're bringing Brandon Cook's corpse off the scrap heap to play over him and Tyrell Shavers and stuff. Like, it's just absurd. But the thing is, though, what really is sad about this game is that Denver deserved to win. And Denver found a way to win. Yeah. And even though they won, it's hard to see them having a real chance. And my guy Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos talked about just the sad news after the game that Bo Nix out for the season now.
Just leaving the stadium here hours after the Denver Broncos had their biggest win in the last 10 years. And shortly after that, the wind got sucked out of their sails. They'll be without Bo Nix for the remainder of the playoffs here as he suffered a season-ending injury in Sunday's overtime thriller against the Buffalo Bills. Sean Payton came back after his initial press conference and told us that Bo suffered a broken ankle in Saturday's win here against Buffalo. He's set to have surgery on Tuesday, and now that means his season is done. Jarrett Stidham now steps under center here for the Broncos and for Payton in the AFC Championship game next week here at Empower Field at Mile High. maybe a chance for some Nick Foles-like magic here with the Broncos offense. Certainly, that's the hope. Make sure you stay tuned to Locked On Broncos for more.
Listen, Nick Foles was on Twitter on Sunday like, hey, the Patriots have a history of losing championship-level games to backup quarterbacks, which is hilarious and everything. And Sean Payton, listen, Sean Payton's a wizard, man. If there's anybody out there who can get Jared Stidham to get this job done, I don't think that New England is unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. Like, we'll talk about how C.J. Stroud he peed his pants in that game. There's no way around it. He was just absolutely terrible, and we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But I think the big loser here is NFL fans. Like, if Bo Nix is in that game, what a great football game. And now, even if Sean Payton pulls off some magic with Jared Stidham, there's just no way that football game has the pop that would have had with Bo Nix in the game.
I agree. I don't think Jarrett Stidham is Nick Foles. I love the reference there as somebody that covers the Eagles, but I don't think he's got that. But I do think Sean Payton could find a way. With that defense at home, he's one of the best play callers in football. I agree with you. The Patriots are this unbeatable force. So I could totally see Denver getting there, but I don't think I want them to get there at this point. I mean, Bo Nix was having such a strong performance against the Bills. If it's him versus Drake May, like, cool. May the best second-year quarterback win and get in, and that's a fun story. But I think the NFL's praying New England gets in. But I don't know. For me, it's like the Patriots getting back in either. I don't love the storyline for either AFC team. I think I'm all in on the Matt Stafford legacy story or Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. But, yeah, the AFC's, it's kind of tough with the way things kind of broke down, at least in my eyes.
Well, in my opinion, something that I've said for quite a few months now, quite frankly, is I think that the Rams and the Seahawks are the two best teams in the NFL. That's something that I've truly felt for quite some time. We've done our power rankings on this show a couple months ago and things like that. Those have been my two favorite teams, or favorite is not the right word, but the two teams that I think are the best football teams. So to me right now, I still lean to the NFC. But speaking of that, the Seattle Seahawks are probably the betting favorite right now because they absolutely dominated the San Francisco 49ers. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, we're about to head into the NFL Championship weekend, and FanDuel has been in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, and you only have 2 NFL playoff game days left. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts so you can apply to the bets that you like the most. The boosts give you more juice on the bets that you already like instead of forcing you to bet on something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks and then apply profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs are still rolling. Open up a profit boost pack, say that 3 times fast, first thing on game day, and see what boosts you want to apply. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, Louie, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL. Again, recapping a wild divisional round. I mean, 7 out of 10 football games, you could even say 8 out of 10 football games have been absolute barn burners. This is one of the best postseasons that I've ever seen. But I got to say this, Louie. A lot of the time, when we have a lot of great playoff games like this, you get to the end and we start to see some stinkers.
I thought about that. I agree.
Like, we could see like a stinker Super Bowl, in my opinion. And one of the reasons that I think that might be the case is because the Seattle Seahawks might just be a buzzsaw. And that's something that my guy Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks talked about after their dominant win over the 49ers.
History at Lumen Field, the Seattle Seahawks tying a franchise record with a 35-point rout of the San Francisco 49ers to advance to the NFC Championship game. 41-6 victors over San Francisco. Another dominant defensive performance. 8 straight quarters against San Francisco without giving up a touchdown in just 9 total points. The Seahawks produced 3 turnovers, 2 of them from Ernest Jones, a forced fumble that Julian Love recovered an interception of Brock Purdy in the third quarter. They also got a strip sack from DeMarcus Lawrence that Nick Emanwari recovered. Sam Darnold didn't show any ill effects from his oblique injury. Wasn't asked to do a lot, but was effective with 17 pass attempts, completed 70% of his throws, and had a beautiful touchdown pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba as Seattle went up 17-0 at the end of the first quarter. From there really was no doubt who was going to win this football game. The 49ers couldn't get anywhere close to enough offense going to get back in this game. Seattle was up 24-6 at halftime and kept pouring it on in the second half with ferocious defense. Rashid Shaheed opened the game with a kick return for a touchdown that electrified this crowd as well. All three phases playing perfect complementary football. This is about as dominant of all-around effort as you're going to see in an NFL playoff game. The Seahawks are hoping to carry that momentum over into the NFC Championship game, which will be back here at Lumen Field against either the Chicago Bears or the Los Angeles Rams.
And now we know it's the Rams. And look, Seattle truly is probably the best football team out there. That doesn't mean to me that they're going to win the game, but that trade for Rashid Shaheed has paid so many dividends for them. Even if he struggled at times to get acclimated on offense, his special teams impact has just been absolutely huge for them. And that defense, dude, everybody talks about the Texans defense. The Seattle Seahawks defense might be the best defense in the NFL, and how people talk about Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan as offensive gurus. Mike McDonald is that and maybe even more on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that truly was the most dominant three-phase performance of football that I remember seeing in quite some time in the playoffs.
It really is funny. It feels like Groundhog's Day where we're kind of reliving 2013 all over again. Not just with the teams that are in the Final Four, but the way the Seahawks have built this roster. The defense looks like the Legion of Boom again. Nick Emanwari is like this young Cam Chancellor. They've got a bunch of safeties flying around. Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, Job in the secondary. Their defense is just so aggressive and so similar.
And not elite stars, like not elite star pass rushers, but just the totality
just
and
like
the waves of it.
They don't have that true alpha 15 sack a year guy in the defensive line, but the complete unit is just so perfect for the Seahawks and what they've always liked to do, what they've always liked on all three levels. And then Sam Darnold, their quarterback, like a play action, deep ball specialist like Russell Wilson at the time. It feels very similar, but
Doug Baldwin, JSN.
Right, exactly. The slot kind of physical route runner over the middle of the field. And they go up against, it's kind of funny, it's like the best roster in football against the best quarterback and head coach. So the battling philosophies in the NFL kind of colliding here in this game. And I think that's a really fun storyline because the first two games were such battles that this almost feels like it could be the Super Bowl, right? Like whoever wins this goes on to get it. And the way Seattle just made that statement, I know San Francisco was a walking corpse at this point with their roster injuries, but the Seahawks really showed they're on even another level than I thought in the regular season they were at.
No, I'll be honest. I feel like I've been pretty on here with what I think is going to happen in these playoff matchups. And I thought that Seattle would be the biggest blowout of the weekend. Like, I thought that they would really wreck the 49ers, but not like this. Not like that. I mean, this was crazy.
It felt like that could have been any. I know it was San Fran, but it felt like if you put anybody on that field, they were going to beat them by 40. That's just 100%. The way they were playing in a vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a buzzsaw for Seattle. But we look to the other side, and why we say that, you know, this might be the Super Bowl between these two teams is because I just don't think that the New England Patriots are good enough to beat either of these teams. And I'm going to sound like such a bitter Tennessee Titans fan here. And you know what? I am a bitter Tennessee Titans fan.
I love the self-awareness.
Mike Vrabel in year one going to the Super Bowl, just absolutely crazy. I keep joking that it's a bubble ring. It's a bubble title, you know, because their schedule has been so easy. And then, you know, they get the Pittsburgh, or not the Pittsburgh Steelers, but their round one opponent. They played the Chargers with their bad offensive line. And then they go in and they get the Texans, and CJ Stroud totally melts. And now they get to go and play Jared Stidham.
It's not a bad take. It's not a bad take.
I mean, it's just an incredible. It is, even a Patriots fan has to admit, it has been a historically easy path for the Patriots to get there. But nonetheless, they've done it, and it has been a magical, unbelievable run, which my guy Nick Cattles from Locked On Patriots talked about after the win.
Simply unbelievable. It doesn't feel real. The Patriots are headed to the AFC Championship game after beating the Texans 28-16. and they ran the football down Houston's throat to soak the clock in the fourth quarter. That was a statement by Mike Vrabel and company. To run the ball against that defense to end this game, for all intents and purposes, what a statement from Ramondre Stevenson. What a statement from this offensive line. 1 billion turnovers. The game was chaotic. The weather was nuts. But man, oh man, the Patriots are headed to the AFC Championship game. They play the Broncos next weekend on Sunday. I can't believe it. We're going to talk about it. Talk about this game. Talk about the Patriots moving on. Locked On Patriots. See you soon.
I mean, I just have no belief that Jared Stidham is going to find a way to beat, like Mike Vrabel is going to find a way to win that football game, no matter whatever voodoo magic that he's done. He made a joke. I'm not going to say it on here, but he made a joke about removing a body part to get himself a Super Bowl at one point in time on a podcast. I am not convinced at this time that he hasn't already made that deal, because what they've done this year and the path that they've taken, it's just magical. And who's to say Mike Vrabel's football team can't come out and punch you in the mouth and win a Super Bowl? Like, I just can't say that it can't happen right now.
It's not fair, man. I don't mean to get on my NFL fan soapbox, but some teams never have a great quarterback, never go on this kind of run. New England had the greatest dynasty of all time with the greatest player of all time. Less than 5 years later, they have the easiest path maybe to a Super Bowl I've seen. And if they get there before the Buffalo Bills do, that, I feel so bad for the Buffalo Bills fan base. Like, it's unbelievable that they're going to have a backup quarterback's the only thing in their way to get to this championship. But I will say, like, with that being said, Drake May is not a fluke. The Patriots run may be a little fluky, but they do have an elite quarterback that's taken that true year 2 step. I thought against maybe the best defense or top 2 in football in Houston today, he made some really nice plays to win this football game. He wasn't perfect, but I do think that will always give them a chance. So I don't think in the Super Bowl you're going to get this complete blowout if it is New England. I think Drake May does make it feel a little less fluky.
Well, we talk about quarterback head coach combos, and I'm sorry, but if Drake May is playing well on offense, no coach in the NFL knows football better than Mike Vrabel. He knows football as well or better than any coach in the league. So if you have Drake May on offense and you have Mike Vrabel setting up a defense, that gives you an opportunity every single week. But, dude, we got to talk about C.J. Stroud. I mean, what a disaster. Here's a stat for you from at NFL_researcher. One of the best follows that you can have online. C.J. Stroud is the first player in postseason history to have 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles in a single postseason run. He played 2 games and found a way to break that record. I said in the middle of the game, like, it's not about confidence or this and that. It's Stroud has the yips. It wasn't just the turnovers. Dude, he missed a ton of throws low, to the side, this and that. Like, I thought they needed to consider putting Davis Mills out there. I don't want to get overboard here like I talked about earlier in the episode and say that the Texans need to, consider some competition and stuff like that. But I think going into this next year with Stroud, it is no guarantee whatsoever that Stroud is their quarterback of the future. I think from his rookie year that was so good to where he is right now, they can't say with 100% certainty that after this next season, if they were to underperform, not make the playoffs, he were to have another bad year, then they would have to at some point consider at least strong veteran competition, or maybe drafting a guy, in the second round or something and going about that way. Stroud, his regression from his rookie year, and it's funny, they wanted to get Bobby Slowick out of there so bad, and I know things were bad for run past Slowick, but, Nick Haley hasn't made C.J. Stroud any better, and boy, you know who's really popping some champagne tonight? The S2 test. Shout out to the S2 test. S2 test is saying, hey, you had us in the first half, but what about now? What about now? All jokes aside, though, seriously, like Stroud has been so bad in back-to-back playoff games. He wasn't that good last year. He struggled this year. There will be serious conversations toward the end of next year about C.J. Stroud if he doesn't have a much better year in year 4.
No, I completely agree. And you look at it zoomed out, like he has a playoff win in all 3 years as the Texans starting quarterback. But when you zoom in, it hasn't been good since his rookie year. It almost feels like Freaky Friday where him and Bryce Young like completely switched bodies and career arcs. It's unbelievable where like Bryce Young's going up and Stroud's coming down. You're right. It's the yips. It's the pressing. It's the need to like play hero ball on every single down. And I don't know if it's because the offensive line just does not protect him. And so he's in his head. He just does not feel comfortable ever. But with that kind of defense, they needed the complete opposite approach from Stroud in these games, not to be over-aggressive. The defense is going to carry you. All you got to do is make a few smart plays a game and don't turn the ball over. And he turned it over more than, like you said, anybody in the history of the postseason with this back-to-back game stretch. So, yeah, it's a real question heading into year 4. And if you told me a second overall pick has 3 playoff wins in 3 years, I wouldn't think there's questions, but there absolutely are.
Dude, imagine if we went back to Stroud's rookie season and said he's going to win a playoff game in the next 2 playoffs along with this year. You would be like, okay, we're talking about a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
And if you zoom out, like you said, you could make that argument. But zooming in and seeing how things have really played out, you can't make that argument. Now, I want to say this before we go anywhere. Football is the best thing on earth.
It's so good.
Sports and athletics are the greatest things that human beings have ever created. And watching this playoff so far, that Chicago, the snow, the crowd, the ability for football to be a microcosm of life. You struggle, you fight, you fail, you lose, you get popped in the mouth, you bleed, you sweat, you cry, but you respond, you get back on the horse, you fight even further, you reach success, you do it as a group from different backgrounds, different creeds, different religions, different races and cultures, all together as a brotherhood, fighting through adversity and succeeding and failing together. Football is the greatest thing that human beings have ever invented. Football is the greatest thing on earth, and watching it this weekend, Louis, I am filled with joy, overwhelming joy about this sport and what it's done for my life and what it's done for society. Football is the best thing of all time in human history.
I completely agree. I'm ready to run through a brick wall now after that. I'm going to go watch Friday Night Lights after this episode.
Yes.
Just watch some motivational speeches from Coach Eric Taylor. I don't trust people that don't like football because this weekend this has been, and my team lost last week. And even with that said, this has been the most exciting 2 weeks to start a playoff year. Maybe in my lifetime at 28 years old. Like, this has been the most, and even not just this playoff run, but the regular season, the memorable games we've had this year from start to finish. I really hope it sticks the landing better than Game of Thrones and a lot of these great all-time shows. The story of the 2025 NFL season, because it's been one of the most chaotic, entertaining seasons ever as a football fan. I think the majority of people watching and listening to this would completely agree.
God bless football. With that being said, that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On NFL. I am your host, the Madman, Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, the Legacy, Louis DiBiase. As we tell you every episode, thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.